Thank you both. Okay, so here we are. Hello, I'm Taylor Winship. I'm the chair, for those of you who don't know me, I'm the chair of the Santa Clara Valley section. And I just want to say on behalf of all the co-hosts for this IEEE President-elect Candidate Forum, welcome to all the candidates and all the attendees. We thank you very much for participating today. And we hope that this event will help you in making a better informed choice when you vote for a candidate. Most of you, I think, know this, but I'll just say that the winner of the election will be the IEEE President-elect in 2022 and the IEEE President in 2023. So this is a very important decision for all members of IEEE. So please do vote, and please ask all of your friends and colleagues to vote as well. Next, please. I want to introduce our co-host today, Charmaine Hughes. Charmaine, if you're on video, can you wave? She is chair of the San Francisco section. Erin Lynn, again, if you're on, can you wave for us? Erin Lynn is the chair of the Oakland East Bay section. And I'm going to murder this name, I apologize. Zhen Zhang is chair of the San Diego section, and I thank you all for supporting this event. Our moderator for this forum is Coughlin Kramer. Most of you, I'm guessing, know her. Well, a lot of you will know her. Coughlin is the 2021 IEEE Secretary and a current member of the IEEE Board of Directors. And many of us know her as the past director of Region 6. I also want to thank the IEEE MGA staff members, Christy Giambalvo and Sean Kim, for providing us with superior support for this event. Thank you both for all your help in this WebEx and the slides, and for giving up some of your weekend. Next. So this is the agenda. I've done the introductions, welcomes. Well, I didn't introduce the candidates, but I'll let them introduce themselves. I have introduced the moderator, and with that, I think it's time to go ahead and turn the floor over to Coughlin. And Coughlin, can you continue, please, with the agenda and move into the next step?
Thank you, Taylor. So in terms of today's format, I wanted to explain that when we were planning this, we were keen to give you an opportunity to hear from each of the candidates at the beginning and at the end. But on the questions, we set it up to allow only 2 candidates per question. And the questions themselves were distributed randomly across the candidates with a final random sequence for each set. We have arranged to have a timer showing when needed, and I ask that the candidates keep an eye on the clock so that I'm not forced to cut you off, or even worse, have to add to somebody else's time. And just to let people know ahead of time, we have 3 minutes for opening statements, and then everything else after that will be 2 minutes at a time. And so please, and you can see from the agenda that we'll have opening statements, then 8 question rounds, and then closing statements. So please go ahead to the next slide, and we're ready for the opening statement. All right. So first up, we have Francis Grosz. Francis, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Francis Grosz, and as you see, I am a candidate for IEEE President-elect. I've elected not to use slides. I prefer just to talk to people. Beginning with a brief introduction, I joined IEEE as a sophomore in college and have been an IEEE volunteer for around 40 years. I served in every section office except treasurer, and I've been a member of the Region 5 Executive Committee for 20 years. and I served 3 years on the IEEE Board of Directors, 2 as Region 5 Director, and 1 as IEEE Vice President for Member and Geographic Activities. On the society side, I've been active in a large number of IEEE conferences, including serving as the Vice Chair of the International Symposium on Circuits and Systems, and as Technical Program Co-Chair of both the PES T&D Conference and the ComSoc GlobeCom Conference. And I'm currently a member of the local organizing committee for the 2022 T&D Conference, which will be held here in New Orleans. I have bachelor's degrees in both physics and in engineering sciences, and a master's in engineering from the University of New Orleans, and a PhD in electrical engineering from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. I'm a life senior member of IEEE, a registered professional engineer, and I spent most of my career in industry, primarily in defense, although I did teach for a couple of years at the University of New Orleans, and I've been adjunct faculty at both UNO and Tulane. IEEE does many things well, and we need to continue to do those things. At the same time, my focus is on the local organizational units, particularly the sections and chapters, and on industry. And I think there's a natural synergy there. One of the things I think that's very exciting is the current local groups pilot being run by NGA, which gives local OUs, sections and chapters with section commission, the ability to organize in a low overhead, low bureaucracy way, groups particular to the interests of their members. These do not have to be technical groups, and non-members of IEEE can belong to them, which gives us a chance to attract industry members. And we also have started a joint TA-MGA committee on increasing chapter support. On the industry side, we've been working on this for a long time, but we haven't been as successful as we like. One thing I'd like to see us do is encourage conferences to have an industry track as part of their conference. Thank you very much for this chance to introduce myself, and I look forward to the rest of the presentations.
Thank you, Francis. Very timely. Next up, we have Ramesh. Ramesh, are you ready?
Thank you. I had a set of slides, Kathleen. Could we bring those up?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Let's move it forward, please.
Wonderful. Good evening. My name is Ramesh, for those who know me, but those who don't, call me SK. It's wonderful to be here today, and I wish I was doing this in person like 2019, when we had that Epics and IEEE Expo back at San Jose State, and I think some of you are there in the virtual audience there. I put together a couple of thoughts here just to share with you why I'm running for this position and what I hope to accomplish together working with all of you. Next slide, please. So by way of a brief introduction, like Francis, I started my journey in the IEEE as a student member 40 years ago. I've lived, studied, and worked in 3 of our regions and 5 of our sections. A bulk of it has been right here in Region 6, where I was actually Sacramento section chair back in '93, when we elected the first woman to be IEEE president, Dr. Martha Sloan. These days are surreal times, but we were blessed in 2020 with our grandson. That's my grandson, who joins me in a lot of my Zoom calls periodically and keeps sanity around me. In the IEEE, I've served at the section, region, chapter levels. I've served on all of the major OUs, including the board of directors, as well as educational activities, Ada Kappa New, publications board, awards board, and so forth. Outside of IEEE, I serve ABET on the board of directors and was recently elected to be president-elect. In my career, I'm a faculty member in the California State University system at Northridge. Next slide, please. So not surprisingly, these are the challenges and opportunities that I perceive. What does IEEE stand for different segments of membership? How are our structures adapting and changing to serve these members? Resources are important. We know that publications and conferences are both changing and we need to adapt. But perhaps the most important question is, how do we remain relevant in these rapidly changing times and adapt to life in a post-COVID world? Next slide, please. So if I'm elected as IEEE president-elect, my top priority is to focus on our members. And this sounds simple, but I think it's very, very important. Engagement is the key. And I see three strategic areas of focus: member engagement, volunteer engagement, industry engagement. Our members are looking for affordable and accessible continuing education, and dare I say, retraining programs. We need to strengthen our participation in affinity groups, improve inclusivity, improve diversity. I'd like to establish a volunteer academy program to nurture future leaders in the IEEE. And most importantly, we need to engage with industry. Our conferences, publication standards need to become more relevant to practicing engineers. These are my areas of focus. I believe that resilience is innovating in the face of adversity. And I really look forward to engineering the future to create an IEEE of the members, by the members, and for the members. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramesh. Next up, we have Saifur Rahman. Saifur, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Kathleen, very much. Good evening, everybody. Happy to be in front of you. I just noticed the 4 sections are Silicon Valley, San Francisco, San Diego, Oakland, East Bay. You add the members together, it's more than some regions of IEEE. So you're very important. Voting bloc, very important. I hope you vote in large numbers for the benefit of all of us. So I have been IEEE member since 1975 when I was a grad student. I've lived in region 1, 2, 3, and 4. I went to school in New York, Virginia, and I taught in Texas. I'm teaching at Virginia Tech now. I have been working for Virginia Tech and Texas A&M for many, many years. And I have also established a startup company working on building automation systems. So my first appointment as a volunteer leader was in 1985, a section chair for the Virginia Mountain section in 1985. Then I moved into IEEE overall. I was in TAB, Product Services Board. I chaired many committees. I was the president of PES in 2018, 2019. I am a member of IEEE Computer Society, Communication Society, EDS, and PES, of course. And I see 3 things are coming in front of us as challenges: conferences, publications, and membership growth. Let me focus on membership growth first. I know that we have grown quite a bit. Now the membership growth is kind of flat, especially in regions 1 through 6, going down, in fact. So I have been working with industry quite a bit. Francis mentioned the TND conference. This is our flagship conference. It's industry-based. Our society, PES, has 65% industry engineers, 65%, and 1/3 academics. What I want to see, we want to focus more on working technologists who may or may not have college degree. Because if you go to the membership website now, they ask you your degree. If we follow this, we'll have limited opportunities. I believe if you open up membership to people who are working in industry but not college graduates, that's fine. I also established what is known as the IEEE PS Industry Engagement Program. We have now 7, 8 companies in China, 3 in India, and 5 in the US. I hope we can expand that to all of IEEE to bring industry to work with us. So I am focusing on relevant opportunities. I hope that if you do things right, we can make IEEE a successful, resilient global organization.
All right. Thank you, Saifur. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Tom Coughlin.
Thank you, Kathleen. Could you put my slides up? Hi, I'm Tom Coughlin, and I'm running for a candidate for IEEE President-elect in 2021. Next slide. I'm originally from South Dakota, but I've been in California here for about 30 years, and especially in the San Francisco Bay Area. I have my own company. I've run it for the last 20 years. I've worked in industry for the 40 years that I've been an IEEE member. I've been an engineering manager, executive, and I write a blog for Forbes.com on storage, write other things, and put on events. Let's go to slide 4. Slide 4, please. There we go. I've been president of IEEE USA, director of IEEE Region 6, which is the Western United States. I've chaired the New Initiatives Committee, the Public Visibility Committee. I was general chair of the 2011 Sections Conference in San Francisco. I've participated in a lot of technical activities work. I've also been past chair of the Santa Clara Valley section, as well as the San Francisco Bay Area Council. I'm still actually active in the Santa Clara Valley section. In 2020, I started a Society for Social Implications of Technology chapter. I am the chair of the Technical History chapter, and I also was elected this year as the secretary for the Life Members. Let's go to slide 8, please. So some of the things I've done is I chaired an IEEE Board of Directors ad hoc in 2019 that developed ideas around membership price that informed a decision in 2020 to offer a half-price membership for student members, and also stimulated activities to look at slower raising in prices for young professionals. I was also championed to create IEEE as My Competitive Edge set of videos featuring young professionals, which aired throughout the United States. This is IEEE USA president, including on television in the San Francisco Bay Area. When I was Region 6 director, I did a lot of work to create greater connection to industry and also to recover members. We actually had a contact thing with the local sections, getting hold of people. We got something like, and I participated as well, we got like a 2% increase in recovery of members. I was co-founder of the Rising Stars Conference, and I've nominated medal winners and IEEE milestones. Let's go to, let's see, slide, this is slide 8, please. So IEEE is facing an existential crisis. We are aging, especially in the United States. If we don't attract and keep more young people, the consequences are dire. We're also losing members in industry, especially in the United States. Our main source of income, publications, need to deal with this. Let's go to slide 9, please. So actually the next slide, please. These are my focus. I want to enhance membership. I want to get stronger connections to industry, empower active sections, and have a global and diverse IEEE. And with that, I want to thank you. Please vote in the 2021.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tom. Can we go to the next slide, please? All right. So now we're in the question round. As you can see, there are going to be 8 question rounds, and they're set up so that we'll run through all 4 candidates over the course of 2 questions. And so, as you can see, coming up, we have candidates Ramesh and Grosz, and the way this is formatted, this means that this is telling Ramesh that he's going to be first, and Francis that he will be second in this particular case, and it'll keep going on in that manner through the 8th round. Next slide, please. All right, so our question 1 is on diversity and IEEE. Candidates are often asked about increasing the diversity of the IEEE. Please share with us 1 or 2 solutions that you, as IEEE president, would offer to increase the value and relevance of IEEE for diverse groups such as industry professionals, student members, women technical professionals, or young professionals. And first up, we have Ramesh.
Great. Thank you so much for that question, Kathleen. And this is a very important question for the IEEE, not just for our present members, but for our future as well. And I want to go back to what our members are saying. They come to the IEEE to stay technically current. They're looking to the IEEE for professional and technical and career development. And importantly, in these surreal times that we live in, retraining, job retraining, affordable and accessible continuing education programs. What we need to do, really, I believe, is to make IEEE a welcoming organization. I want everybody who steps in to our organization to know that they're welcome, not just feel that they're welcome, but to know that they're welcome. And this includes diverse groups across different countries who speak different languages, different cultures. When you look at the pace of innovation today, we know that the distances are increasing between the people who are creating the innovation and the markets where those innovations are playing out. We've got to create these opportunities at the local level. I belong to the Buenaventura section that won a membership recruitment and retention award last year for supporting many of these programs. We do a program called Girls Make STEM with Heart, aimed at middle school girls. At the industry level, we need to increase opportunities for industry leaders to take a leadership role within our IEEE section. So the Volunteer Academy concept that I have is to provide nurturing, to provide support, to provide a platform where all of them can be successful. Student members increasingly are looking at careers, not just jobs, but careers. And we have to be very careful that we look at the opportunities ahead, sustainability, digital technologies, healthcare, climate change. All of this, I think, provides great opportunities for us to engage students, to engage women, to engage young professionals, and to be a supportive, welcoming organization. So it's not just about advancing technology for humanity, but to do it in such a way that we demonstrate diversity, we demonstrate inclusion. And this is what I've practiced in my working life, and I'd love to do that for the IEEE. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramesh. And next, same question, Francis Grosz.
Thanks, Coughlin. When I was interviewed, president-elect candidates are interviewed by the board and before they decide who they want to nominate. When I was interviewed, I was asked, what does diversity and inclusion mean to me? And what I answered is that to me, every person who approaches IEEE should feel that they are welcomed and valued. We need to make sure that they understand that they're important to us. Part of the catch there, though, is that what is important to these different groups varies. For example, industry professionals need things that are of value to them. We have too many industry people tell us that our transactions are unreadable, they can't attend our conferences because the companies don't pay for it. We don't have enough available to interest them. I think things like local groups, Collaboratech, which are open to non-industry professionals, non-IEEE members rather, may attract them and help us solve this problem. But we have to have the industry people understand that we're not just an academic group. For student members, they have to understand, I was a former region student activities coordinator. Student members think of IEEE as the student EE club. Why would they belong after they graduate? We have to relate to them that IEEE is a lot more than that. And Tom and I have both done programs to that effect. I joined WE this year simply because I think we need to do more. And in particular, I think we need to have more candidates for WE because we have to encourage younger women, younger girls to consider STEM careers. And in young professionals, I think a graduated dues will help. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis. Next slide, please. So our next round will have candidates Rahman and Coughlin. And again, so Rahman would end up getting the first stab in this round. So next slide, please. The question 2 is about dues across different countries. So does IEEE need to realign the structure of member dues across countries from its current structure? And if so, how? And if not, why? Saifur?
Thank you, Coughlin. I believe we have to restructure our dues. It is not enough to say we have one rate for developed countries, richer countries, one for other countries. Things change with time. The rates of conversion rate changes is against US dollar. People have other issues. I'd like to see we have multi-tier membership rate for different parts of the world, and it can change. And this is nothing new. If you look at the industry that supplies medication, pharmaceuticals, they sell the same drug at one price in the US, and the price in Canada, and the price in India, different in Kenya. They do that because they know that people cannot afford it. So we have to align our due structure based on affordability of our members, so they don't feel burdensome that they cannot survive. What I did to answer that to some extent, I started what we call the corporate engagement program, whereby the company pays dues of the members, not the members themselves. Example, Talk to Kenya Power and Light. If you look at the reduced fee for Kenya, it's close to $100 now. That's an engineer's 2 weeks worth of salary in Kenya, 2 weeks worth of salary. But Kenya Power and Light easily spend $10,000 to buy 100 engineers membership for a year. They have no problem with that money. We have done that in Africa, China, India, and now looking at Latin America. It can be done. We have to think carefully that look at person's ability to pay, not overall situation. That's the big picture I'd like to pursue if I become president with the help of the board. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Saifur. Next, Tom Coughlin.
Thank you, Kathleen. So I've actually been on the IEEE Industry Engagement Committee and been involved for several years. I'm actually on a working group in that committee right now. I think that the idea of I would love to see us strengthen our program for involving industry, engaging with them, and part of that would be membership. And I think that there's, I was also involved this year in the end of last year and this year in a worldwide discussion with people in industry, government, and in industry and government and education all over the world as another industry engagement activities. And it's clear to me from that there is a real burden of membership fees in many parts of the world. I think we need to take a look at that. But I also think there's some really interesting opportunities to deal with the value of membership, not just the price. And what I mean by that is this, is if people are more engaged in the IEEE, I think they see it as greater value. And I'm actually thinking there are some things we could do that that might help to get people more engaged, sort of around membership. What if we were to create things like some kind of a token or a voucher for membership activities that members could use for various purposes? One of those might be partially reduce their membership fees. This would help people to get more people engaged with the IEEE. It would get and they'd see some value and acknowledgement of that engagement. And it'd also be, I think, a very interesting way in which for us to get more value for our members, get them engaged, and therefore, when they're engaged, I think we have much higher retention. So I think there's things we could do looking at the membership itself. I think there's equally as many things we need to look at the value of membership and to use that as a tool for increasing the engagement of our members in the IEEE. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Next slide, please. So the third round would be Francis and Saifur. Next slide. So this question is on increasing Region 6 membership in particular. What strategies would you offer as president to increase membership in IEEE within Region 6, the Western U.S.? And Francis, you're up first.
Thank you. I don't really think that Region 6 is that much different from the rest of the U.S. We all have the same problem. U.S. membership has been declining for some considerable time. When I talk to people about this, and one of the best things about being a volunteer at this level is you get to talk to a lot of different people. The number one thing is, as Tom alluded to, we don't provide value. For an engineer in industry, there's no value in IEEE. The transactions are impossible to read. The conferences, they don't go to conferences, too many conferences or paper conferences, and so on. Saifur made a point about the T&D. T&D is IEEE's most successful conference, but it is primarily so because it is an enormous industry exhibition and it attracts industry engineers. I was a technical program co-chair for the T&D in 2010, and I think we put on an excellent technical program for industry engineers. But we have to do better at that. Too many conferences don't make any effort to attract industry engineers. Communication Society's GlobeCom conference worked on that with their Design and Development Forum. We need to do more of that. I think local groups are going to be an outstanding opportunity for sections, chapters to engage industry members on things that are of interest to them. And if they have a local concentration of engineers in one specific area, we need to encourage them to start a local group to provide value for them. And since non-members can be a part of that, this gives us a chance to attract industry engineers, show them what IEEE has to offer, show them that we're not just totally a paper organization, and encourage them to join. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. Next slide, please.
Thanks. For me now?
Oh, I'm so sorry, Saifur. Yes. Saifur, please. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So I have given this a lot of thought. I speak at many conferences, and when I come down from the stage, talk to people on the floor, I ask the question, are you a member of IEEE? Many says no. No. So why? Answer is, it is not relevant for my work, not relevant. So biggest challenge is to make this relevant, especially Region 6, a lot of software industry people. What I tell them, if you come join us, work with IEEE, we'll provide you with a good platform for networking. And that resonates with them. You want to network, learn from each other, provide that neutral body. That's number one. Number two, also I heard they want opportunities for what we call upskilling. You raise your skill set because things change routinely. So if you can make them understand, if you come to IEEE, you can upskill yourself, do some more training, re-education in a good sense of expanding industry spectrum. Makes sense. But the point is that message is not easily understood, maybe not properly delivered. So you must have opportunities for engineers to do that. We in PS have, as a president for 2 years, established a resource center. In that resource center, we have now formed a PS University. And that is getting a lot of attention among industry engineers who want to kind of retrain themselves, upskilling for their own career, and find value in this. So two things. One is provide content, but more importantly, communicate, which is not done very well in our case, especially in the US. So communicate, provide content, and talk to people one-to-one as much as you can, so they feel they are being listened to. Thanks, Kathleen.
Thank you so much, Saifur. Next slide, please. All right, so question 4, we'll have Tom and Ramesh. Next slide. So question 4 is about helping the general public. What are the best ways for IEEE to help the general public in facing the critical issues that are most relevant to our fields of interest? And first up, we have Tom.
Thank you. That's a really good question. Thank you, Kathleen. So I think there's a number of ways in which IEEE does this. I was president of IEEE USA, which is involved in a lot of public policy issues that inform Congress and even sometimes the Supreme Court on technical issues that related to things. So I think public policy is one of the ways in which the larger IEEE can help to inform folks that are making decisions. But I think in general, we need to do a better job of outreach to the public. You know, public policy is one thing, but I think we need to raise awareness of what IEEE is. I was chair of the Public Visibility Committee, for example, and that was one of the things I tried to get us to do to increase our participation that way. We need to be out there at technical events, trade shows, things of that sort. We need to be doing things in STEM that increase the awareness of the IEEE and its importance and the importance of technology and technologists for the future of the world. I think that there's enormous critical problems we need to face that we can help to solve, and we need to get the word out. I also think there are enormous opportunities that IEEE can be in front of. And those include things like what's the development of outer space. They include new technologies. For instance, I've been very engaged with the IEEE Future Directions Committee, which is involved in developing advanced technologies that span the multiple technical organizations in the IEEE. And I think we can use information from that, from roadmaps. There's a road mapping effort in Future Directions from various things. Public policy, as I said before, and generally getting the word out, letting people know what IEEE is, letting them know about solutions and thoughts, and talk about the opportunities, talk about the problems. get ourselves out there, deal with sustainability, climate change, all these important issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tom. And next we have Ramesh.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. Great question. You know, in my opening remarks, I talked about the Girls Make STEM with Heart program, and actually we're going to do that face-to-face with Mass, and I'll be spending the whole day, October 9th, speaking to parents, groups of parents. And this is very important. I think we need to communicate what IEEE does. We have a wonderful tagline, Advancing Technology for Humanity. But you see the way it manifests itself, Tom talked about climate change. Think about the critical issues we're facing with healthcare. And climate change, again, look at the CO2 in the atmosphere right now. And for millennia, it was below 300 parts per million. And in the last 50 to 60 years, it has shot up increasingly high. I think IEEE and IEEE's members have a tremendous role to play in solving these critical challenges that confront us. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals come to mind. And to me, this is a confluence of IEEE entrepreneurship and humanitarian activities. IEEE Entrepreneurship is an open group. It actually has over 17,000 participants. 2/3 of them are not even members of IEEE. Let me repeat, 2/3 of IEEE Entrepreneurship are not members of IEEE. So what value do they see in that group? I think the value that they see is delivering on our tagline, which is advancing technology for humanity. So when you think about smart cities, when you think about smart grid, Tom and I serve in the Sustainable Development Ad Hoc. I hope it becomes a standing committee. It needs to become a standing committee because climate change is the issue of our lives. We need to solve it. And it's going to take a team, a diverse global team that is working together, cutting across multiple disciplines to make a dent in this problem so that our children and grandchildren can have the vision that IEEE has for all of us, namely advancing technology for humanity. So I believe that we can do a lot of things here well. We've just started to do this. It's going to open up careers. It's going to open up opportunities. It's going to open up a whole new world for IEEE. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ramesh. Next slide. So question 5 will be Ramesh and Rahman candidates. Next slide. So question 5 is on for-profit versus not-for-profit. IEEE is a not-for-profit association dedicated to advancing technology for humanity. With you as president, what role do you see of for-profit industry practices in our not-for-profit organization? And first up, we have Ramesh.
Great, thank you. I was just going to grab a drink of water, but I'll go first and take my water next. Thank you for that question. I really appreciate that. And let me first put things in context for you in terms of resources. When you look at publications and conferences, that's about 80% of our revenue, folks. And membership brings in probably about 13 to 14% of our revenues. So when we start thinking about the future, and we've already heard questions about membership, what we need to do to increase the value of membership, I think there is a way for us to thoughtfully engage industry because the beneficiaries are not just us, it's the industry that employs our engineers who work for IEEE. And there is a way for us to utilize our conferences, our publications, our journals, to make them more focused towards practicing engineers. There is an opportunity. Way back when I was at Sacramento State, when Dr. Sloan visited us, we used to go to WestCon. Remember WestCon here in Region 6? It was the biggest show, right? And students and practitioners would come there. I would take a whole team of students in a van to that event. We need to go back to those kinds of events. I think we need industry sponsorship for these events to get jobs for our members, to bring resources into the IEEE. The Industry Engagement Committee has started out to do a few things well, talking about an industry hub, for example, that brings the entrepreneurship community together, brings startups together. We can do this in Beijing, we can do this in Bethesda, we can do this in Bangalore, and yes, we can do this in Silicon Valley. So I see a way by which we can attract all of these entities to participate in IEEE, participate monetarily to support our mission, and at the same time support our members in their careers, advance their professional and technical growth, and ultimately lead to a larger, healthier, stronger IEEE. So this is something that we need to work on very carefully, and I would love to see this come to fruition in the next decade. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramesh. And next we have Saifur.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a very good question. That's what I have talked about many times in the past. For-profit industry practices industry has to make money and keep their shareholders happy. So what do? They improve efficiency, improve productivity. And not for profit has a tendency to just get by. So if I become president, I'll focus on efficiency and productivity. If you can do that, we can provide more services, but at the same cost, maybe drop the cost to some extent. Example, I've been working in publication for at least the last 20 years, PES and IEEE as a whole. I compare our publication portfolio, how we do business, and for-profit Springer, Elsevier and the like. They are providing today much more services, even though their journals cost a little bit more than our journals. But point is, authors are happier. So authors are giving us content for free, unless you talk about open access, that's a different story. And we have to treat them better, more productively, more efficiently, so that they feel that they have a place in IEEE which takes care of them, publishes things in a timely manner, and they are getting services which make their paper more accessible in the sense of quality-wise and spread. So the summary is, I want to bring for-profit industry practices of efficiency, productivity, and accountability to the nonprofit environment that we are in, so that we can take advantage of the volunteer support, especially publication field and conference field, but provide more services so that we look like we are productive, competitive, and efficient. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Saifur, right on time. And next round, please. So round 6, we'll have Tom and Francis. Next slide. So question 6 is about adapting the membership model. And how would you, as IEEE president, adapt the membership model and value proposition for today's IEEE? And first up, we have Tom. Uh-oh, you're muted.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I thank you very much, Kathleen. I spoke about a little bit about enhancing the value of membership before. I think there's a number of ways we can do that. I think we need to start with the students. And part of that is that engaging with the students, Francis brought it up, and he and I both talked to student groups about the value of membership. I think we need to do a lot more of that. And we need to give sections the tools to be able to go to their local student branches and talk to them about the value of IEEE. And how we can be their professional home. An idea that came up in one of the town meetings I've been doing is a very interesting one. That was perhaps this also would help us on engagement with industry. But what if we were to work with industries and our student branches for career recruitment events, that sort of thing? We were to be facilitating that, another demonstration of direct value of IEEE to those students. If we can get more students in, we can keep our young professionals in. If we can do things to keep them in longer, and that's where a slower increase in the pricing for young professionals can help. And then, but also engage with them more. I think it's really important to do that. I think there's other things we can do that could increase the value proposition. I think that there's new types of services, publications, maybe using AI-assisted access to information based upon the large body of knowledge that IEEE has, could be an opportunity for us if that was available to members. This idea I talked about before of some kind of voucher recognition, something that people could then use for things in IEEE that may help in terms of engagement. Engagement is really a key to keeping people as members of the IEEE, to enhancing its value. Now, I think also us being out there in the public, being visible, talking about important issues are also going to be things that people want to be part of a group like that. They want to be one of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And next we have Francis.
Thanks, Kathleen. One of the keys to doing something like this is flexibility. IEEE often comes across as inflexible. You know, when you're part of it, particularly at the level, you know, 4 of us have had the opportunity to work at, it sometimes seems like trying to change the course of the Titanic. And, if you're lucky, you can change it before you hit the iceberg. Different members are looking for different things. Our current membership is by and large satisfied with what we do. But the people we're trying to engage with are not. For example, industry being a primary example. The value proposition for a member in industry is not there, or at least they don't perceive it's there. Networking opportunities, we have to make sure that they have that. Industry programs in interest industry, we have to make sure that the local OUs have an opportunity to provide those kinds of programs. When I talk to section chairs, they tell me that their number one difficulty is arranging interesting meetings with engaging speakers for their members. We have to work on that. I've talked to some people about various ways to approach improving that or making it easier for them. We have to do whatever it takes. The students, for example, have to understand that there's a lot more value to IEEE than belonging to the student club. And so we have a range of things we have to do to appeal to the range of people we're trying to attract to IEEE. Flexibility is the only way we're ever going to get there. And I think we need to all learn to be a more flexible. We talk about we need to be more adaptable, more nimble in today's environment. I think that's an absolute necessity for everybody, including IEEE. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis. Next slide. So now we're at round 7, and we have Saifur and Tom. Next slide. So question 7 is about what your top priority is. So as president and CEO, what would be your top priority for IEEE? And first up, we have Saifur.
First is accountability. We are volunteer driven. Staff work for us. So volunteers, grassroots level up. I have talked about in my society, our chapter leaders are our foot soldiers. Recognize that. Unless you have the ground level awareness, they would not go around and say good things about the society and bring members in. They have to feel comfortable. So first priority is recognize the services our volunteers give us at the local level. Very importantly, also, we have what is called life members, and they're ignored in many cases. I've got a lot of emails from many life members with that concern, that we have the knowledge and the experience and nobody cares about us. I would like to see we recognize the life members' contribution more and give them a way so that they can be more productive and more easily able to contribute. That's one. In terms of accountability, it has 2 parts I mentioned already, efficiency and productivity. If a publisher can process 1,000 papers a month for some process they have, why can we not do the same thing? So we cannot say that, well, our things are cheaper. They're not much cheaper than others. Point is, if you are accountable, you will find ways to make volunteers and the staff aware of the public or our members' expectations so that we are able to fulfill them. If members are happy, the word of mouth will go around and encourage others to join because they'll find the networking opportunity and they know their money is going further than it was the case before. So I'll do that as the CEO if I'm elected. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Tom.
So I think my top priority would be to try to bring together, or if you will, break down the barriers between the silos in the IEEE. I have experience both outside the IEEE and also inside the IEEE with a lot of different organizational units. So I know, a lot of volunteers, I know a lot of the staff people, and I'd like to facilitate linking, partnering, communicating across those boundaries. I want to encourage collaboration and innovation across the organization. We need to be getting ready for the future. I want to increase our external impact and general public awareness, all the while advancing technology for the benefit of humanity. And I support a member-led organization. open discussion and transparency within the IEEE, and I believe that we must be a representative global organization. I think there's things that I'd like to see us be doing. In addition, I think we need to make it easier for people to become senior members by perhaps generating lists of people who are members that can help when a section or a group is doing it. I think we especially need to do more to help our members in the industry become senior members and fellows. I think that's an important area for work on. I want to work to encourage STEM careers, sustainable technologies, support lifelong learning, improve diversity, and promote our membership. I want us to engage with our membership. It's another important priority. And I think a key part of that is the local section is engaging, strengthening, and giving tools to our local sections. The local groups are one of those examples. Francis talked about that. To help them to become more active, to give them tools to for instance, work better with their student branches. And I think also that that IEEE needs to be open to all technologists. And basically, we should create a safe environment that supports our members in order to be their best self. And I think by doing these things, and especially, as I said at the beginning, by trying to span all of the organizational units in the IEEE, and it's pretty complex, and try to get us to work together, that we can accomplish amazing things. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Tom. Next slide, please. All right, and this is our last question round, and we have Francis and Ramesh. Next. So question 8 is on guiding on financial and publications challenges. And so how prepared are you to guide IEEE as president in the evolving environment for IEEE publications, given its leading role in the finances of the Institute? And first up, we have Francis.
Thank you. Open access has been a challenge for the Institute. From the very beginning, the good news is we were aware of it from the beginning. And thanks to a lot of hard work by both volunteers and staff, we were able to create various open access journals, hybrid journals, and so on. This landscape, however, is going to continue to change as the rules evolve, and they're adapted by different organizations with slightly different nuances and so on. And so IEEE, again, is going to have to be very flexible and nimble in responding to this. Our publications model is somewhat different than the for-profit publishers, Elsevier's, Springer, and people like that. And it's IEEE's biggest income stream. So we have to make sure that even though open access changes things, that it changes it in a way that we can live with. IEEE is very much involved in this. We are working with these open access organizations that are creating these mandates to make sure that they're fair and balanced. In other words, that they have embargo periods, or they have various different things built into the mechanisms, built into the open access mandates that give us a chance to recover our costs, because it costs money to do this. It costs money to house the IEEE electronic library and so on. So cooperation with the people who are doing this and making sure that it's fair to everybody, that it accomplishes what it's intended to do without totally disadvantaging anybody, is a key. That would be my approach. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. And last answer to Ramesh.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. And this is a wonderful question to cap off our question round. Let me put things in perspective. For the last couple of years, I've been serving on the publications board. And so these are issues that we've been looking at very, very closely. About 42% of IEEE's revenues comes right now from publications, and it's a very subscription-based model. If you can envision a pyramid in front of you, at the top of the pyramid, you would find probably the institutions, the universities that subscribe to these publications. And there's a lot of authors, academic authors out there. At the same time, you have the base of the pyramid that doesn't really contribute articles to these publications, but yet they are part of that ecosystem right there. Open access is something where I feel IEEE needs to lead from the front. Let me repeat, lead from the front. This is a challenge for us, undoubtedly. And I think we have staff from both the TAB side as well as the PSPB side and volunteers who've been looking very carefully at the so-called read and publish agreements, which have now evolved into transformative agreements. So we have to deal with the question of the APCs. We have to bring those costs down. IEEE Access for rapid publication. We have about 4 weeks time from the time you submit an article to the time it is published. But remember, quality is important. The reason why IEEE is where it is, why we have those 5 million well-cited documents, is because of the quality that we have. So I don't believe we should compromise on quality. At the same time, we should look very, very carefully at this model and go out and pursue those gold open access journals, those journals in areas where we can take conferences, new and emerging areas. Think about the IEEE Quantum Initiative. My goodness, I mean, this is going to open up a whole new world of possibilities for publications. The model's got to change. IEEE's got to be at the front, leading from the front to make a difference. I foresee a wonderful future for us, not the gloom and doom scenario that people are predicting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next slide. So finally, we'll have the candidate's closing statement. And there was apparently an unknown scheme to deprive Ramesh of water. And so here is the ordering of the closing candidates. Next slide. And so first up on the closing statements, we have Ramesh.
Could I have my slides up, please, Christy? Thank you, Kathleen. So in closing, we've heard a lot about membership. We've heard a lot about the challenges that we're facing. And I want to go back to what I said, why I'm running for IEEE President-elect. I'd like to provide our members with an exceptional experience. And let me reflect to you what our members are telling us. They look to the IEEE to stay technically current. They're looking for industry-focused applications, conferences, journals. They're looking for continuing education, and dare I say, tailored products, retraining opportunities. 2/3 of the people who were surveyed in the recent IEEE USA survey had either lost their job or did not have a job during the last year. This is important. Support for ongoing professional and career growth. And inclusion, we need to work very hard. Women in engineering had a 38.9% growth year over year last year. That didn't happen by accident. It happened because we were intentional about welcoming them to the fore. Next slide, please. How can we do this? Collaboration is critical to our success. I've been privileged to be a part of IEEE, to work on many, many projects. The IEEE Learning Network did not exist 5 years ago. Today, it has over 1,000 courses and webinars from 30 different professional technical societies. Think about IEEE AdaCap and you. Try Engineering Together, e-mentoring, Try Engineering Summer Institute. In every instance, ladies and gentlemen, we've come together as one IEEE, not looking at different OUs, to do what is best for our members. Collaboration requires trust, trust that is built on transparency and open communications. As far as I'm concerned, these are non-negotiable values, and that's what you'll get if you elect me as your president. Next slide, please. So in closing, I'd say let us work together. Let us be inclusive. Let us be collaborative, accountable, resilient. We can engineer the future together and create an IEEE of the members, by the members, and for the members. It would be an honor and privilege to serve you. Please visit rameshsk.com for additional information. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramesh. Next, we have Saifur Rahman.
Thanks, Kathleen. I'm going to summarize what I said already. The 4 things I want to focus on: leadership, being welcoming society, provide value to membership, and accountability. So what do I mean by leadership? IEEE is a large society. We can provide a platform where you bring in not just IEEE societies, ASMEs, civil, even accounting people. So we have to deal with a global problem primarily today: global warming, climate change, decarbonization. So if we can be visible, we have the prestige in the space that we have to open up. So, okay, let's have IEEE president invite presidents of other societies, even other countries in terms of technical professional bodies, so that they can find our platform to speak from. That will help us to take leadership, the issue of global warming, decarbonization, climate change, and the like. We have societies within IEEE who do these things as their routine activities, but that is not visible. That's number one. Number two, welcoming to people who are not only college graduates, but technologists working in software industry. They may not have a college degree, that's fine. That way we have much bigger pool of members to bring people to our space. Value of membership, we talked about this already, so that people will feel by joining, remaining with IEEE, helping them in their profession. And finally, accountability, so we are more efficient, more productive, learn from the private sector, and see how those practices can become our way of doing business. We can come out at the end of the day winning for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Saifur. Next, we have Tom.
Thank you very much, Kathleen. So as IEEE president, I want to work between the different organizational units and to accomplish, to bring us together and to accomplish four major objectives. The first one is to enhance the value of membership. This involves various things. It involves helping create more senior members. It involves providing value to the type of members we've been losing, particularly I think in industry. And that fits into another one of my goals, which is stronger connections to industry. But also on the membership side, we need to do more to engage with students, create tools for doing that, working with sections to help them to create tools. To be able to engage with them. We need to work on, maybe there's ways we can connect industry to the students as well, but also for the higher grade members. Again, the easier senior member elevations, especially in industry, making connections there. I think I want to empower active sections. I like the idea of local groups to be able to create ad hoc groups that address issues that come up, especially I think will have value in industry. Not issues, but opportunities and technologies and new things. And then I want to have a global and diverse IEEE. I want an IEEE that brings in all the people who are interested in technology, brings us together, helps us to work together, both within our organization and outside the organization, and to bring different parts of the IEEE together in order to accomplish great things, to deal with the important issues that face us, the world around us. We talked about some of these: climate change, sustainability, a number of other issues that face us, but also to look for the future, to use our new technologies, things on a future directions, and to look at how we can create a greater impact and opportunities for society, for our children, and for ourselves in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And finally, our last statement, Francis Grosz.
Thanks, Kathleen. I think we all realize that IEEE faces challenges. Some of the questions alluded to these. Even before the pandemic, we had challenges. For example, the open access mandates, as we talked about, threatened our traditional publications model, which is IEEE's largest revenue stream. There was dues reduction pressure both inside and outside IEEE to reduce dues, and that pressure continues. And our membership mix is changing. Inside the US, regions 1 through 6, higher grade membership continues to decline, while in regions 8, 9, and 10, student membership is growing rapidly. Then COVID struck, and that impacted our traditional conference model. Thanks to a lot of hard work by volunteers and staff who were able to pivot to hybrid and virtual conferences, but still there are going to be changes even going forward. And meetings had to change, which is why we're meeting like this tonight. But while we had a lot of challenges, we have a lot of resources. We are the world's largest professional technical organization with around 400,000 members. We have an incredible core of volunteers, tens of thousands of volunteers all around the world who devote their time and talent to making IEEE the great organization that it is. And we have an excellent professional staff. So with these resources, I think we have all the tools we need to not only meet the challenges we face, but to surmount them, to emerge from this a better, stronger, bigger IEEE, better able to engage the public and help them understand the value of the profession, better able to provide service and value to our members, and better able to fulfill our mission. I would very much like to be a part of the team leading IEEE through these next few years, and I would sincerely appreciate your consideration and support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis, and thanks to each of the candidates for their very strong contributions today and for making my job as moderator as smooth as possible. Sincere thanks. And so now I think I'd like to pass it back to our host.
Thank you so much, Kathleen, and thank you to all the candidates. When I first envisioned having a candidate forum, I did not expect it to be quite as smooth as it's been. So I thank both Kathleen for that and the IEEE MGA staff for that, and all the candidates for staying on time and such. So well done, all of you. I do have a closing statement here. Okay, so thank you to everybody, like the candidates, the moderator, the MGA staff, and the attendees for taking some of the time from, are we getting an echo? No, okay. For taking some time to be here today. We're excited that we were able to bring you this opportunity to hear the voices of all the candidates. We hope it was informative. I know it was for me, and that you now feel even more confident in making your choice when you vote. I believe everybody who came to this event plans to vote. So I'm not going to say, again, please vote. I'm going to say, please encourage your family and friends, your coworkers and colleagues to vote as well. Every voice matters, okay? A footnote to the event, we did try to pack in as many questions as we could, and we had 8 rounds. We didn't want all 4 people answering every question because I just envisioned the 4th person saying, yeah, what they all said, right? So we did break it down to 2 per question, and even then we just didn't have enough time for all of the questions that we had. And so we'll make those available to the candidates if they choose to take that further on a posting or a website, what have you. They will have that available to them. With that, I think I'll just say thank you again to my co-hosts for supporting this event, for putting this on. I hope it was valuable to everyone. And with that, I think the meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Safe, healthy.
Kathleen,
Good night. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.